I am inside each and every single one of you. You just look in, and I will be there, waving out at you, naked, wearing only a cock ring.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Unreasonable Man channel. I am the Unreasonable Man, and you are the audience. And now that we both know our jobs, let's get to work. Got a lot of work to do today. Things to do. Coming to you from the great state of Tennessee, where it is currently raining. I want to reach out and thank my 3 listeners, viewers. Know you guys are holding it down out there for me, and I really appreciate you. I want you to know that you guys are great. You're tops in my book. That's what you are. So, yeah, lots to talk about today. So let's get into it. A lot of really fucked up stuff out there happening over the weekend, and just in life in general, is a little bit weird. So we're going to break some of that down today. Going to start doing these shows maybe once or twice a week. Keep them kind of short. Just me rambling on. I guess it can get old after a while. Hope to have some guests soon if you like that sort of thing. So I guess I should start off with for those of you who have not seen the first episode, don't know who I am, don't know what's going on. I am the Unreasonable Man. The title comes from a quote from a 1904 play by George Bernard Shaw, who, yes, was a socialist fuck. But he did say some really cool stuff. And one of the things that he said or wrote in his play, Men and Supermen, was that the reasonable man adapts himself to fit the world around him. The unreasonable one persists in forcing the world to adapt to him. Therefore, all change must come from the unreasonable man. And that really resonated with me because I believe that's true. I believe that a lot of things that we are offered in life are kind of shaded in this idea that they are reasonable, that we should not to question them as being unreasonable. And you shouldn't do that because it's totally reasonable to have reasonable gun control. It's totally reasonable for higher taxes. Everything's totally reasonable that these socialists want. And yet, none of it is actually reasonable when you sit down and think about it. And so, we, as good humans, should be unreasonable. And you should be unreasonable. You should demand accountability, demand that we enforce a meritocracy that the better you do, the better you get. I mean, within reason. I'm not saying that, if you can't earn your keep, we throw you in the street. But I am saying that, the guy out there busting his balls 40, 50 hours a week trying to get things done needs some recognition. And despite claiming to be for the workers and the workers' party and all of that, socialism has jack shit to do with workers other than exploiting them and their hard work. And they always have been and they always will be. And if you believe in socialism as the workers' party, you are on crack and probably need to sober up. So I'm not gonna go down that road because I can get really pretty heated about socialism and communism and all the isms, and we don't need to get into that. Let's talk a little bit. Let's just change subjects really quickly. Talk a little bit about men, women, relationships, and all of that. As I sit here in my my little office here, this is an office. The flag behind me comes down when I'm not using it for this show as a backdrop. This is an office that we use. It's in what I call my airplane shed, and I built that to build airplanes in, and also for me and my wife to have a home office so that we could have some silence and talk on the phone or whatever, or do work with minimal interruptions. So, as such, it's a good place to shoot videos. Now, I'm not a professional videographer. I don't claim to be. I have a camera, I have a microphone, and I have me, and that's about all you're going to get. I don't have a professional crew. I do not do great, awesome video editing. Do not expect any camera slap fade transition things. It's just not me. It's not going to work, and we're not going to do it. Moving on. So let's talk a little bit about a couple of things this week in the relationship guideline. I've been married a long time. Um, I married I married in a very specific way, and I feel like that most people these days, they do not date with intent, or maybe they do. They don't admit that intent to themselves, and by that, what I mean is when I was young and I knew I wasn't marryable, I wasn't marriage material, right? I did not have a very consistent job. I didn't own a house. I didn't have any idea how I would own a house at that point in time. I had plans. I had started a business. It had failed. I had worked for people. I had been fired before. I had been very very well off, and I had also been very very broke. Sometimes in the same year, and this was all part of the growing period of my life. And I think that we can talk about that as well, because I feel like people think that life is always this uphill climb. You just get better and better and better, but it's really not like that. It's most people's lives are like this, and it's when you're in those low spots that people start getting into trouble. And we'll come back to that. We'll circle back around, talk a little bit about that in a minute. But when I was young and I was dating, and I understood that I was not really marriage material at all, I didn't date for marriage. I dated to fuck. Okay. I dated to have sex. I dated to not be alone. I dated so that I could have a good time and I could show the young lady a good time. But that was it. Like, there was no attachment. There was never going to be any attachment. Right. Now, I say that, but I had two relationships early in life that I felt like I would have married them. One of them, actually, I considered her my fiance. The second one, we just didn't get that far. We were probably pretty close, and there were some things that happened. In both cases, and this has colored my life, the whole my whole life. In both cases, the men and women around me, the young men and young women around me, some of them were getting married, some of them weren't. Some of them had gotten married. There were guys that got married, you know, the Saturday after, the high school graduation on Friday night. Literally, like the very next day, or a couple of days, or the next week, or whatever. You'd have the class. 80% of my high school class married within the year after high school graduation, and that's crazy to me. I did not. However, a lot of those people got divorced. And so a lot of times, a lot of the women, when I was 20, 21, 22, a lot of the women I was dating, or that were in my dating pool, a lot of them were divorced already. And that was crazy to me. And so um, I dated with a purpose, and the purpose was to go out and have fun, have a good time, and be social, and not have anything serious, other than two individual cases, um, which I treated differently. But for the most part, and actually, they were both kind of the same girl, right? And we'll maybe one day I'll get into that. I'll talk about that. But in both of those cases, I dated them for a long time. I was very faithful, and then when we broke up, I took a little while to heal, and then I went right back to dating. Now, when I was dating, excuse me, excuse me again. When I was dating, I did not date for a relationship. I never made that mistake. And I made it clear, I felt like I communicated clearly to all the girls I dated that this was not something that was gonna last. And moreover, I made very sure that the girls I was dating were not looking for a long-term relationship. Um, and to be honest with you, I didn't date good girls. Good girls. I didn't date those. Not because I couldn't get them, not because I wasn't attracted to them, but because I knew I knew that that wasn't the relationship I was looking for, and to have somebody fall in love with me or to get them to have real deep seated feelings for me was just not in the cards. It would have been wrong, and I'm just not that evil. I'm just not that evil a person, and I think people should it as that, right? So if you're dating somebody, if you're going to date somebody for 5 or 6 weeks because you happen to be in town, or you're going to move on, right? Like, you're not in a marriage state of mind, and it may change, but really you're just dating for fun, and you have choices, right? So you can date the super hot, low body count, you know, good girl. You can date her, or you could date the still hot, but has some bodies, um, easy. Back in my day, we called them easy. Not they've been around. You know what I'm saying? And and I would date those girls because they were fun, and they didn't expect a lot out of me, and I didn't need to give them a lot of me to have a reasonable relationship and fulfill what I needed at that time, which was companionship and sex and whatever, and that's just the truth of it. And that sounds really horrible, but honestly, it was the best thing I ever could have done. The On the other side of that, every girl that I've ever had a serious relationship with that I thought about marrying has been super low body count and good girls and high quality, 100%. But I only dated them when I thought I was ready to marry. Like, I had something going on. And I think that men lie a lot. Women lie more, but men also lie. Men will pretend that they're ready for a relationship when they fucking know they aren't. I mean, you just aren't fucking ready. You're doing DoorDash, or you're slinging pizza, or you're managing a fucking car wash or something, and you live in an apartment, maybe have a roommate. Dude, you're not where you need to be getting married. I'm not saying that people don't get married there and have successful lives. I'm saying that the higher percentage of good relationships come when you wait and you work on yourself as a man, and then you go find the woman that completes you. Now, maybe, it happens in life that men find the women that complete them early in life, and then they have a great relationship with a woman that is, by far, way better than what they deserve, right? Like, they absolutely, have great, wonderful relationships, and, sorry, my screen's all messed up. I'm trying to fix it, but, um, there's no there's no reason to add bodies to a wife material girl when you're not in that place in your life. And I think that women, on the other side of that, I think women need to really strongly evaluate the men that they choose to associate with and hang out with, especially when they decide to sleep with men or date men. I mean, the argument can be made that women just have terrible, terrible taste. They have terrible history. They have terrible everything. Like, all of it's bad. It's all bad. Like, there's no good, right? Like, the argument can clearly be made that they like bad boys or whatever, and and they get into that, and then it's a self-destructive streak, and I mean, everybody knows this tune, right? I mean, there are tons of videos on it. And that's very true. I mean, an argument can be made for that, but there's no reason for you as a man to do that to a woman. Okay, there's no reason to add to her body count just because you can. There's no reason to there's no reason to be that guy. There's no reason to be the guy that just fucks everything that moves indiscriminately, right? Like, be tactical, dude. You know, do the right thing. I mean, if you're going out with a lounge lizard or a bar chick, that's great. I'm just saying, men and women have different needs and different standards, and should be the men should be the ones to really determine, really be in control of how they're dating, and they need to date with intent. I don't know that women can really date with intent. I used to think they could, um, but they're just so emotional and they get so weirded out. Men are much more. I think men have a much greater ability to be strategic in their dating, to use technique and to purposefully hunt. So I always have related dating to hunting, right? Like, women are prey and I'm the hunter, and I go find them and seduce them, for lack of a better word. That's how I always kind of looked at it in the back of my head. I never was like, I'm going to go get lucky, right? Um, Getting lucky was like, okay, it's cool if it happens, but that's never my intent. My intent was never to go get lucky. My intent was to find a specific girl that I liked, that I understood, and I went, then we had a relationship for however long a time. And I think men and women both will benefit long term by dating with intent. And for women, that needs to be, if you are a married, if you have determined that you are a high value woman, if you respect yourself, if you're not doing OF, if you're not doing all of these things, um, and you want to keep your body count low, that means you date with intent for a husband. And that may mean that you don't have a boyfriend for a year, 2 years, or whatever, until you find that man that makes you whole, or that you complete, right? Like, that you complement him to the point where that together you're a super couple or whatever. And so the last portion of this, for today anyway, is, I think that, and I kind of alluded to this earlier. Well, it won't be the last portion because I have one more thing, but I alluded to this earlier. I said I'd circle back. So when I was in a relationship where when I was in a place in my life where I had everything kind of going right, and I was like ready to buy a house, I had a great job that I felt like would be a career, and I felt like, hey, I'm solid. Like, I'm solid. That's when I would start looking at wife material, right? That's when I would start. It's like, you don't shop for a Ferrari when you're working in a car wash, right? You you make do with your 10-year-old car. When you're ready, you're ready, and you go get the thing that you truly want, that truly makes you happy, right? I use Ferrari as a bad example, but that's how men should be. Now, women are totally different. I can't really comment on how women should be because I'm not a woman. Okay, I can only tell you what I think, and what I think is that women are different than men. They need to hold themselves to a different standard than men. And one of those standards should be that they don't fuck every dude that shows up wanting them to spread their legs. Number one. Second is, even if you are promiscuous, the idea that you can't be redeemed, that you can't have a past, and then no dude will ever want you. I don't think that's true. Now, you may not get the dude that you really want. You may not get super high value badass dude. You may get just kind of okay guy. Um, and you should be okay with that, right? Like, we should be okay with what our past has earned us. Um, so both of the relationships I had prior to my marriage that I thought would end in marriage, they were both truly amazing women, that to this day, have had pretty good lives. You know, um, I can't. I'm not gonna comment on their current lives, but my current life is pretty good, and I like it, and you know, go from there. So I guess bottom line is that I think that men need to date with intent. I don't think that men are particularly immoral if they go out to have sex with women, um, as long as they're doing it in such a way that is not harmful, in well, not intentionally harmful to the women that they're dating, right? Like I purposefully, when I was dating, once I realized how truly fucked up it was to date a low body count, which, back then we didn't have that term, but, a non promiscuous woman who was ready for marriage. When I realized how fucked up it was to date a woman like that versus dating the sorority party chick. I loved sorority party chicks, right? They they just had a different mindset. They weren't in any particular hurry to get married. They really did not have um they didn't have super high requirements of me, right? And I loved those girls at that time. They were great. They were fun and they were happy. I loved them. I loved them. I loved cheerleaders the same way, I did not go out and try and find virgins to appease me, right? Like I hunted a very specific type because I didn't want to do any more damage, I guess, in my opinion. I didn't want to do any damage. And I think that men don't think that way very often. I think they should. And I think that women should think that way. You should, as any human, you should think about the damage you do to yourself getting in and out of these relationships. I knew that at any moment in my life, at that period of time, I could have, I was in North Carolina for a while, and then I was in Colorado for a while, and I was very, very unstable, location wise, career wise. I mean, mentally, I was great. Mentally, I was solid, but the idea that any woman would have put up with that and the damage I would do to a relationship trying to make that work just wasn't worth it. And I think that men have to look at that and women need to look at that and make adult level decisions and just don't hurt each other. Just don't, date with intent. And if your intent is to go get laid with people who that's all they want. Um, and, and if you're a woman that wakes up at 30 and realizes that she's, screwed off and it's a little late, accept the fact that you may not, you may have to take a chance on a man that's maybe not the your first choice. And I'm gonna, not to, target anyone specifically, but you'll know who I'm talking about if you're you. If you there are women out there that have been divorced, and they got married and they love being married and they want to be married and they've been, they and for whatever reason they get divorced. Usually it's infidelity of some kind. Usually the man has no other way to rebel except cheating. A lot of times because uh, it's just how men act out. To be honest, I think a lot of times when men are cheating, they're not cheating because they want to go have sex with somebody different. They're cheating because they don't know of any other way to get their wife's attention without putting hands on or doing something really stupid that they just internally can't do. They just mentally they just can't get there. So cheating is like what they can do, and they do it. They do it. They hurt their spouse and get the divorce happens, or they just go up and say, "Hey, I don't want a divorce," whatever that is. But they get a divorce, and then I'm thinking of one specific person here. You will know who you are and know you're going to watch. Um, you know, that will go a decade or whatever without having a serious relationship because they're holding a candle for that past relationship, and mentally they have fucked themselves up so bad that the idea of being with someone else casually is just so out there. It's so hurtful that they just can't do it. And so they end up hurting themselves more and more and more. And at some point, you just got to get back on the bicycle. Even if it's the village bicycle, you need to take it for a ride and and accept a little bit of the pain, because we all feel pain and relationships can be painful. And sometimes you just have to do it. And that's where I'm going to end the relationship talk today. We'll go more into this stuff, and I'm sure that the comment section will be lit, because I've said some kind of controversial things, and I probably sound like a complete jackass, which is fine. Realize that I'm a one, again, I'm a one man band here. There's no production crew. There's nobody standing over there telling me to shut my fucking mouth, or to reshoot it or whatever. I just say whatever comes to mind, and it is what it is. So I'll live with it. You can't hurt my feelings that way. Anyway, so now let's talk some financial stuff, and then I'm going to jump into this church thing. We'll hold that to last. Pardon me for coughing. I'm getting over. I had a chest infection or something, and I'm still working through it. All right, so financial stuff. What can I say about the financial stuff? Well, let's see. Well, as men, you need to get your money right. As women, you need to keep your money right. So I hear a lot of things. I see a lot of people commenting about go buy real estate, go invest in this, go invest in that. And a lot of it is regurgitated bullshit that you see on the internet and videos just like this one, where some guy is saying, go buy an insurance policy, you buy a $2 million insurance policy, you borrow against it tax free, you buy a house with it tax free, and tax free, whatever. The problem is you always got to pay that money back. There's no free lunch. Even if you borrow against the money, you may not be able to borrow against that money for 5-10 years from now, depending on the policy. There's no free lunch. You need to read the fine print, and you need to understand what you're doing. I'm not saying it's a bad way, doing an insurance policy, or buying a house and then waiting for the equity to hit, and then pulling cash out, going buy another house. There all these tactics can work. The question is, are they going to work for you? Are they going to work in a way that suits you and won't ruin you? And can you survive the downside? Because there's always a downside. I don't care what anyone says. The reality is there's always a downside. And when we live through those, it proves out who we are. The number one thing, in my opinion, I don't care if you have 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever in assets. Number one thing is you need to have a steady income. Number one. And it can be something, but it can't be passive. It can't be that you're just living off rental properties on houses you have mortgages on, right? You can't, even if you don't have a mortgage on the property, it can't be your only income, because that can change. I mean, it just can. And you can't live off of interest from an IRA or an S&P index. You can't count on living off of your profits every year from that. You can't. Not as a functioning member of society. Now, maybe if you retire, you can do that. And we'll talk about retirement stuff later. We're talking about as a grown man, from 18 to whenever you're going to retire. I retired young, so I can't really talk here. But as a grown ass man, where is your money coming from? Well, it needs to come from a job. And if not a job, then a business that you own that generates income every single day, and probably in a service industry of some kind, plumber, carpenter, welder, whatever, tow company, body shop, whatever. But you got to have that income, and you have to have that income because if you have passive income only, and I've talked to I saved a young man a couple of years ago I'm going to send him this video actually. I saved a young man a couple of years ago, I think, from a lot of heartache because he sent me this prospectus. Um, he had, he called me. We were messaging back and forth, and he says, "Hey, I got this deal. These guys have this vacation rental property deal. It's X amount per guy to enter." And I looked at it, and the terms of the loan were shit. The numbers that Airbnb and VRBO gave of the monthly rental income, over the year was fucking just pulled out of thin air. Like there's no fucking way those numbers were real. And I told him that. And I told him that I would not, if I were him, I wouldn't get in it. And I personally wasn't going to get in it because none of the numbers made sense to me and they just weren't real numbers. And I don't think he got in the deal. I don't know that he could get in a deal without my money. So maybe I saved his ass. Really, I don't know. But he didn't sink any money into it, and he came out of it the other side. He looks back on it now, and he's like, I dodged a bullet because without the income coming in, if you've got a mortgage that you've got to pay with no rental income coming in, that money has to come out of your pocket. And there's a lot of other shit that you have to think about. If you're sitting there on a arm, right? So let's say that you buy, let's just use a $400,000 house, right? You buy a $400,000 house, your payment's 300,000 or 30,000 a month, or 30,000, $3,000 a month, right? And you can't rent it for that. You can't rent it for $3,000 a month. Okay. Let's do better math. Let's say that you buy a 3.2. You buy it for, you can't do it right now, right? Because the interest rate. Let's say that you bought it 5 years ago. Interest rate was 2.5%, and you got it at 3%. So your monthly payment's $2,300 a month. $400,000 home, $2,300 a month. You put some money down. You put like $80,000, $90,000 down, and you have pretty good credit, whatever. So you're renting that 4-bedroom house out for $2,500 a month. So every month you break even. Now I know what you're saying. Well, my mortgage is $2,300 a month. I'm making $2,500 a month, but there's landscaping, there's all kinds of costs involved, insurance, property tax, all of that. And so you're breaking even. Maybe at the end of the year you put like $3,000 in your pocket for the whole year, which is fine because the mortgage is getting paid. And so you're building equity in that house the whole time. And we're not going to talk about pulling equity out yet. We're just going to talk about the rental side of this. So the market changes. And let's say you had an arm on that property. Let's say that your credit was okay, but it wasn't great. And so you got the 3%, but you got an arm on it. And that arm is, coming due now because you're 5 years in. And that arm pops from 3%, which has you at $2,300 a month, to 7%, which puts you at almost $3,000 a month. Well, now every single month you have to pull $500 out of your pocket to cover that one property mortgage, right? And now all of the money that was extra, that extra couple of $100 a month that was coming in, now goes to pay. Now, that money's not there anymore to pay for the insurance, property taxes, things like that, upkeep. And so that's more money out of your pocket. So now you're paying $500 a month extra, those round numbers, out of pocket, right? So now you're, what is it, $6,000, right? So $6,000 a year out of pocket to pay for the difference in mortgage costs, plus property taxes. Let's call that $1,900 a year. So that's $8,000 in that you're behind. That's coming out of your pocket. And let's say that your insurance on that property, because it's rental insurance, let's say you got a good deal and it's $1,300 a year. So that's, now you're at, you're roughly $9,500 a month, or pardon me, a year out of pocket on a property that should be made that you bought to make you money. And if you did something really stupid, like you you bought it for 400, it went to 600, and you pulled $300,000 in equity out on a second mortgage. Now you're really fucked. Okay. And this is what's really happening to people out there. And you have to understand how the money works. So if you have a source of income, that $10,000 a year that shortfall that you have because the market's changed, and let's say, and let's be honest, the market could change again. So let's say for the past 2 years the market sucks and you've had to pay that extra $10,000 a year. No big deal. The mortgage is getting paid, the equity's accruing in the house. You have no problems as long as you have income to pay for it. If you don't have income to pay for it, you're fucked, right? Because now you may end up having to let that house go. You may go into foreclosure. You may have to short sale it. You may have to you may have some serious financial problems, which we are seeing in the current market. If you have multiple properties like that, where you now have, instead of making cash flowing, which is bullshit, cash flow. Let's say you're cash flowing $3,000, $4,000 a month on these houses that you own. That's evaporated, right? And now instead of cash flowing anything, you are now spending 30, 40, $50,000 out of pocket to keep the properties. That's not paying any of your actual bills. That's not putting any money back in your pocket. So we have to be very, very careful when we start talking investing and how we invest our money. But the number one thing is, while you are able, forget all of this get rich quick bullshit. Forget all of these red pillars out there telling you that you can go out and form an LLC and get a $200,000 credit line. Don't fucking do it. That's a trap. Credit is a tool. It is not ever, ever, ever good. At best, it's a tool. Debt is deadly. It just is. So, and we're finding that out. We're watching this slow development of a crash that's been happening for the past 3 years that is really coming due now. And you're seeing, my area, I'm seeing properties drop $45,000 in a week. And it's going to be a bloodbath pretty soon. And there's still people out there saying, well, if you don't buy now, you'll have missed out in the last half of 2024. And I don't believe that's true. I don't see any reason to believe that that's going to happen. So the bottom line is that if you're going to invest, indexes, whatever, go get a job. Get a good job. Go be a banker. Go be a lawyer. Go be whatever. Do whatever you can do. Be a welder. A welder can make $150,000, $200,000 a year. Go do something that earns you money. As a woman, same deal. Do not fall into this idea that you're going to invest money in something and it's just going to provide you with passive income with no strings. It just doesn't happen. So, number one thing, passive income is good, but you must have a steady source of actual income that you get up every day and go do. That's not passive, that is proactive. All right. The next thing is, you need to understand, as I kind of alluded to and what I was saying a few minutes ago, you have to understand how the markets work, just global understanding. You don't have to get into the nitty gritty details. You need to have a global understanding of how the different markets work and what negative equity does to your overall finances and your buying power and your borrowing power. So just for an example, 23% of homes right now today have negative equity in their value, right, in their loans. That means that somebody owes a mortgage on it, and if they sold it today, they would take a loss. They would have to come out of pocket to sell it. They cannot sell that house without it costing them a bunch of money. The best they could do is maybe go into foreclosure and file some kind of bankruptcy and get out of the debt. That's never good. You have to be better. You have to understand equity and negative equity. The same thing with cars. Almost every car sold right now is in negative equity, even used cars. The only way to buy a car is with cash. My personal policy is I have a 5-year rule. I'm Look, I could go buy anything I want right now. I could probably walk into Ferrari and drive out today with a car, but I won't. And the reason I won't is because it's stupid. First of all, I wouldn't tie up that much cash. Second, even if I was going to pay it in payments, the negative equity involved kills the deal for me. So I have a 5-year rule. I don't drive anything newer than 5 years, to this model year. As a matter of fact, right now I don't own anything newer than 2018. God's honest truth. I do not. The newest vehicle I own is a 2018 F Pace Jaguar. I don't own a 2020 or 21 or 22, 23, 24. I don't own any of that, and I won't. And the reason for that, well, first of all, I have a 5-year rule because that's kind of where the equity kind of equalizes for most cars. It's also where I feel the most comfortable paying cash for a car at my specific the level where I'm willing to front cash for a car. I tend to keep my cars 5 to 10 years, and once they're paid for, I don't have to worry about making a payment. I don't have to worry about any of that. I suggest even if you do not have, if you can't go out and pay $20,000 or $30,000 for a car, go pay 10. Save your money, go pay 10, and then from that point on, if you want, make a payment to yourself every month. Open a bank account or savings account. Just put $200 in there every month or $300, whatever it is. And then, in the next 2 years, you go buy a nicer car, right? You go sell a car you have and go buy a nicer car in cash. Most things in life should be paid for in cash. Folding money. Try to avoid credit at all costs. Don't pay people just for the convenience. That's stupid. Why would you do that? So that's financial stuff I want to talk about today. It's really basic, high level stuff. It's nothing specific, probably not too controversial, but hopefully, people understand it. If you don't, make comments. I'll argue with you all day. It's fine. Well, maybe not all day, but I'll argue with you quite a bit about this stuff. And if you want, go out and check out Dave Ramsey. He's pretty solid dude. And I like to watch the Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stewart and trying to think of the other one. There's a couple of banks and investment firms that make really good news, kind of like a podcast, news briefs that can give you some really good insight. You have to kind of be able to sort through the bullshit because sometimes they'll say some stupid ass shit like go buy a fucking house right now, even though the market is fucking terrible. But you got to kind of weed through that. But most of them are not too bad and they're pretty good. So that's enough talking about money. I'm kind of boring myself here, so let's let's jump out of that and let's talk about this event in Texas at the Joel Olstein or whatever the fuck his name is, his church, where you have this dude. It's not a woman, it's a dude dressed as a woman. This dude walks in Sunday service with a rifle, starts shooting at people, has Free Palestine carved into the barrel or shroud, whatever. As a 5-year-old kid, 5 years old, man, 5-year-old kid that gets caught in the crossfire because people aren't going in Texas, especially. That's dumb. You're going to get shot. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. It just is. You're going to get shot. And so I guess she also yelled a bomb threat, or pardon me. I guess he also yelled a bomb threat. The officers engaged this man, shot him, killed him, but also there was a 5-year-old kid that was hit in the crossfire that this man, brought into this situation. And that's the most evil fucking thing I can think of. I honestly cannot, for the life of me, come to terms with that amount of evil. It's just fucking evil, folks. You cannot bring a kid to something like that with any kind of sound mind. We have to, and I don't honestly give a fuck who I trigger here. We have to stop this bullshit. That's a dude. That's not a girl. That's not a woman. That's a dude. I don't give a fuck what he wants us to believe, what delusion that he wants to believe. This jackass, this maggoty ass fuckwad walked into a church. That's bad enough. Walks into church with a backpack and a rifle and starts shooting, saying he has a bomb, sprays something that people, they had to evacuate the area because they thought it was like some kind of, I don't know, virus or chemical weapon or biological weapon, whatever the fuck it was. I was probably air freshener, but who knows? This evil motherfucker walks in, this dude with a dick. It's not a woman. And you fuckers out there buying into this bullshit, calling men women because they want to. You guys are responsible for this. We've got to stop this mental bullshit. This is fucking mental illness, and it has to be treated like a mental illness, and you should not be buying into it. You shouldn't. It's time to stop. How many more of these fuckers are going to shoot places up? How many more of these jackass motherfucking faggoty ass sons of bitches are going to do these things? It was a school in my home state last year. Now it's a church in Texas. And the whole time, everybody's so sensitive to these dumbass trans motherfuckers that has nothing to do with reality. Reality is you're a dude or you're a chick. Look down between your legs, feel around. If you've got balls, you're a dude. If you don't, you're a chick. It's that fucking simple. Now, you can dress however you like. You can do whatever fuck you want. You can refer to yourself as a dude, but I don't. And nobody else does. And if it fucks with you, you get help. Seek mental help. Don't attempt. Don't attempt this. Stop it. Get some fucking help. Stop it. Get some fucking help. Fucking pisses me off. There's a 5-year-old boy, 5-year-old little boy that's probably going to die. I don't think he's going to make it. I think the latest, and I haven't looked because I've been doing this for the last 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever it is. I haven't looked at the news, but an hour or so ago, it didn't look good. It didn't look good. It's a 5-year-old little boy that this delusional person, this mentally ill male, somehow had control of and took on purpose to go shoot people. I cannot think of anything more evil. There is nothing anyone can say to convince me that this is not the most evil thing ever, and that everyone that supports this, everyone that portrays themselves as this, as a trans person, you're all evil. Because this is all I know about you. I've never seen a good side of trans. I've never seen anyone in the trans community that wasn't completely fucked up and enraged and mentally incompetent to the point that they want the entire world to buy into their bullshit. You guys need to fucking stop it and get some help. Seriously. And women that are supporting this bullshit because you're all up in your feelings about it, fuck it. You guys need to get over it. You need to stop this shit. You need to stop. You need to stop. And men out there, sheepdogs, protectors, warriors, Do your best. Do your best. Protect our society. God praise and God save all those men with guns that stopped the evil man with a gun. I will pray for you. I will pray for that little boy. But I swear to God that I hope, it's my fervent belief, it is my best wish, the thing that I most desire at this moment is that that person, Jeffrey, I pray that his DNA is wiped from the earth, that he has no continuing bloodline, that he is the last of his kind. And that sounds really cruel, but I swear, we don't need people like that. There's no usefulness for them in society. And that sounds really harsh, but that's just the way I feel about it. If you don't like it, you're welcome to comment. You're welcome to call me a bigot. You're welcome to call me anything you want because you know what? I don't give a fuck. I don't. I don't support this. I will never support this. And I will ridicule those who do support this. I no longer feel anything that I felt before. Before this whole trans thing, the whole non binary, gender fluid bullshit, I pitied you. I pitied you. I tolerated you. I thought that you were messed up in the head and you needed a little help, but it's okay. Some of us were like that. I felt nothing for you really, other than pity. And that has been replaced with contempt. Merciless, unending contempt. Don't ask me for help. But you will ask the entire rest of the world to help you, to defend you, while you hide these deranged lunatics and shame people for calling them deranged lunatics. This probably borders into some realms I'm not usually in, but I feel very passionate about this because fuck your feelings. Fuck them. You fuck mine. You don't give a shit about my feelings. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's all there is, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to stop this bullshit. Not one more. Not one more. No more dead kids. No more churches shot up by people who are mentally ill, and you know it. You know they're mentally ill. They identify themselves, calling themselves something they're not. Delusional. It's a medical condition. Get help. Be better. I'm going to close this out, folks. Got a little dark there. Needs to get dark. Protect our children. The fact that that 5-year-old boy was there, brought there by this person who intended to die. I fully believe that they intended to die. That poor 5-year-old boy who will probably not make it did not deserve this. And if you do anything other than focus on him, focus on the loss of his life, you are below contempt. I may not even respond to you. On that note, guys, show's run a little longer than I wanted it to. I had to say some things. I was kind of rambling. Next show will be maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, later this week. Probably won't be as dark as this one, but I'm really pissed off today. The whole thing with this delusional bastard out there getting a 5-year-old killed really darkens me. Brings out that side in me. I want to thank my 3 listeners, 3 viewers. Enjoy all the comments, which I don't get, and all the feedback that I never hear. You guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy life. Enjoy your families. And remember, how can the patriarchy help you today? Have a good day.